Hi, it's 5:25 in the morning and should be sunrise, but it's rather cloudy, so we haven't got much light at the moment. It's also the 12th of August, the Glorious 12th. This is the day the grouse shooting season starts. I haven't turned up here on the Yorkshire moors because it's the 12th of August. That's just a coincidence. I've come because I wanted to photograph the grouse in the heather when it's at its most colourful. It's a lovely purple colour in August. I've based myself in Richmond, which means I can come west to the Yorkshire Dales National Park. It takes about 30 minutes to reach this area, or I can go east and then I'm in the North York Moors National Park, so I've got a choice.
Over the years I've owned quite a lot of motor caravans, but not for some decades. But in my day I would have been the only camper van sleeping overnight on this moor. But on this trip there was 4 of them within just half a mile. It's such a popular thing to do today. It might look quiet and peaceful, but listen to the wind. All of the photography was done from the car window, and the best policy was just to pick on a colourful bit of heather and park there and wait. And I switched the in-camera sound off because all of the video was spoilt by that wind noise. When you first pull up you can't always see a grouse, they're hidden in the vegetation. But you sit there for a while and one suddenly pops up.
The sun has just started to touch the heather now. Straight away it looks a lot more colourful, but it's very windy, and when I'm doing video you can see there's vibration there caused by the wind. I'm going to take the lens hood off. That reduces the sort of surface area that the wind can catch, makes the lens smaller, less vibration. But I don't think it's really going to help. It's probably the car is vibrating from the wind.
The day was mostly cloudy with occasional bursts of sunlight, and look how much the colour changes. I concentrated on photographing birds in the flowering heather, and I wanted to avoid these white sticks of the burned heather. And there were patches that were definitely more colourful. And then you want a whole variety of pictures, just isolated heads sticking up. And you want all sorts of image sizes too. You want them big in the frame, small in the frame, horizontal shots, vertical shots. All of the pictures are taken with the OM1 camera and the 150 to 400mm lens, occasionally with the built-in 1.25, but not very often. They are quite an approachable bird, you don't have a problem getting close to them.
The grouse are certainly very numerous. They're absolutely everywhere and very noticeable. At this time of year they're in small groups or coveys, and maybe half a dozen birds together. When you're photographing them in the spring, well, February onwards is the best time to be photographing them, I always feel. They're noticeably in pairs already, and you get a male and female wandering about together. But they're very easy birds to photograph, and at one point there was a red grouse just right by the tyre, about 2 feet away from the car. So they're very easy to do, just finding one in nice, attractive situations. The heather's purple, but it's not as purple as I'd like it to be.
Whenever the light was reasonable, I was shooting at my default setting of 1600 ISO. The lens is wide open. It's very rare I close the lens down anymore like I used to. Another thing I never give any thought to anymore is the eye is critical. The eye has to be sharp. If the tip of the tail's not in focus, nobody will notice, but they always notice the eye. But with bird tracking, the eye is always sharp anyway. I don't have to concentrate on it anymore. I liked the way this bird was climbing up on top of the heather. I just wanted it to go a little bit higher so we could see the feet. Yeah, a bit like that. And then I started to wonder, what is it actually feeding on, the flowers or just the stem? Now, gamekeepers on moorlands like this burn the heather every year to keep young growth coming through. But I was staring hard and I couldn't make up my mind what it was feeding on. But once I slowed it down, and this is about 10 times slow, you can definitely see those purple petals from the flowers going into the mouth. But really what I wanted to happen was to be able to see the actual stem that it was eating, and in this shot you can make it out. The bird's looking at that one and he grabs the top of it and a bit more, and if there happens to be a flower on it, that gets eaten as well, but it's just the stem that it's eating. A lucky flight shot. I wasn't using Pro Capture, I didn't have any warning this was going to happen, it was just luck. And the birds come onto the road a fair bit. They seem to use the road as a boundary between territories in the spring, and this bird was right in the centre of the road, so I decided to see if I could get out of the car and get down low. Now the idea here is not that the bird doesn't know you're there, but that you are not a threat, so you have to move not so much slowly as steadily. Don't do anything too jerky. And then you get down on your belly and you're at that low angle. You've got the bird on the road right in front of you. Now I really want the bird to step forward so I can see his legs. That would be better, and I've got a zoom lens so I can zoom back when he comes forward. But he chose not to. He went off to the side instead. The background is very important too. You can see there's a boulder just behind this bird, and that really spoils the picture for me. As well as the strong wind, I had a fair amount of rain, but I was quite pleased with this picture. It's taken an 800th of a second with the lens wide open. I like the way the legs are spread and the fact that both feet are more or less off the ground at the same time. A second bird then followed the first one through, but I didn't get the feet in such a good position.
If you believed everything you read on the internet, you wouldn't be taking pictures of birds in this light with a Micro Four Thirds camera. They're no good in poor light apparently. Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
By the time you get to 10 o'clock the traffic builds up and photography grinds to a stop until later on in the day.
That's it, I've given up. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. Normally this is when I would start to put the most effort in. This is when the light is at its most magical and the traffic's died down, so that's quieter on the road, but it's just more rain, more wind, and it's not been a great day. And the other thing I can say is, although I've got pictures of the red grouse amongst the heather, I've got more or less the picture I wanted. There isn't much else going on. Drive across this moorland in the spring and there'll be lapwing and golden plover and curlew, there'll be skylarks, meadow pipits, a lot of activity, a lot more to photograph than there is in the month of August. So this has been very much a one species trip, red grouse in the heather. And the other thing I would say is the red grouse are closer to the road in the mornings rather than later on in the day. So the second half of the day has just not been that productive.
When I got home and looked at my pictures, I remembered I had photographed something else. Red-legged partridge, 3 youngsters and an adult sitting on the wall. That's with the lens wide open, and the 3 youngsters are sharp, but the adult is out of focus. I then closed the lens down to f11 to give me enough depth of field to get all 4 birds in focus. Thanks for watching.